Hello again, everybody. This is Craig Evans of Autism Hangout, and thank you for tuning into this Autism Hangout feature program series, Key Learnings of Autism Thought Leaders. Thanks to the visibility of Autism Hangout, I have had the good fortune of meeting many outstanding people in the autism community. But those that stand out the most are the generous, compassionate souls that spend their days helping the rest of us learn about autism. People actually on the spectrum like Donna Williams and Temple and Anita Lesko and many more are giving us firsthand reports on what life with the condition is really like. And today's guest is one more notable for that list. In an ongoing effort to help all of us learn how to thrive with autism, he's gone so far as to start his own video autism channel at YouTube. Autism Hangout, please welcome the founder of the Autism Information Channel, today's guest, Paul Isaacs. Welcome, Paul. It's nice to finally meet you.
And you also.
You've been so generous in posting so many of your informative videos at Autism Hangout, and I know they get viewed equally as well over at YouTube. So thank you in advance here for all that you do for those of us that are trying to learn more about autism.
You're very welcome. It's ever since I was diagnosed in 2010, it's been really my mission to educate the world, or at least as many people as possible through the medium of video and YouTube. So if I can just help one person, I'm very happy.
Well, today we have two fun things to talk about. We're going to talk about visual sensory issues, and you're wearing your Erling lenses today, so I'm sure we'll talk about that. And then the second point, we're going to talk about nonverbal autistics. So let's get into the visual sensory issues first. I do know that you know a lot about happy environments to keep people with autism functional in a work environment and at home.
Yes, yeah. One of the things you noted about is a happy autistic environment. I can remember my first job very vividly. It was in a supermarket. And I once actually asked a specialist in autism about what's the worst job an autistic could do? And he said, well, actually, it's work in a supermarket, which I found sort of ironic. Yeah, I worked there for about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And one of the problems I had was visual processing. Mm-hmm. It was a low ceiling, so it's a low ceiling all through the store, with this very, very strong, very painful fluorescent lighting. Mm-hmm. On top of that, there was lots of colours, lots of shapes, lots of processing that I needed to do to get from one place to the other. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of difficulties there in terms of work productivity. Mm-hmm. If you've got too much visual bombardment, if you're an autistic who has a lot of agnoses which are visual, mm-hmm. You're going to, in the workplace, find it very difficult. My work productivity went south by 12 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And after all that auditory processing, trying to fit in the staff room, then comments will be made, you're lagging behind, you're lazy, by management. So, yeah, by understanding that profile and understanding what the autistic can do within not just, work environment, but an educational one, if you understand the mechanics of it, then you're going to feel happier as an autistic person.
Paul, is there like a checklist of 1, 2, or 3 things that you could tell somebody on the spectrum or somebody hiring somebody on the spectrum, be aware of these 1, 2, or 3 things?
Yes. Be aware that quite a few people with autism will be face blind. So one of the issues I've got is forgetting faces, or rather not processing them. Mm-hmm. And people used to come by me and say hello, and I'd go hello. And but the problem was I wasn't necessarily understanding who I was saying hello to. Mm-hmm. And that's certainly one. The other two are the ones I talk about, and I know Donna Williams is very candid and articulate as well, is about object blindness and meaning blindness. One of the problems I had in the workplace is my visual mapping. Someone would tell me to do something, I wouldn't know where to go. And when I was a young child, the way I used to do that is very much like a physically blind individual, is do a lot of kinesthetic touching, sniffing, licking, tapping,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. But as I got older, I became aware that people were commenting on that or seeing it as a bit strange. So I put all that on hold, but there was a drawback to that. I was lost. I was lost. I didn't have any sort of mapping. So the object and the visual fragmentation, the object blindness, is where you only see a piece of a thing at a time. And when it comes to multitasking, that can be very difficult, that sort of switching in your mind. So in terms of visual stuff, yeah, the face blindness, the object blindness, and the meaning blindness, certainly from a visual perspective, I would put on the checklist.
Okay, that's all really helpful. Let's take a moment and talk about those early lenses too, because I know that you've got these now. They've reduced headaches. They've made it easier for you to comprehend things. What else can you tell us about early lenses?
Well, it was quite amazing. I had 3 layers. These are made out of purple, blue, and a greyish white filter. And when I put them on, so I was like this, and I got up and I looked round, and it was like a moment of clarity for me, how much I've been missing for 26 years. I was actually seeing the connectivity of the tree and the branches and the trunk, and actually some of that meaning blindness went, so I was actually gathering that it was a tree, and you know, and I looked at him and I could process his face, I could process his body, so that this connectivity came into play. And also what he noticed through observing me going around the room is that my posture changed. He said, you're walking with more confidence, which was really interesting.
Let's talk about another disabling aspect of autism. The people that can't speak. I know you yourself weren't able to speak until you're like 7 or 8.
When I was a little boy, I was very much engrossed in my own world. Much like those diagnoses I was talking about, you know, I lived in a world where there was no meaning. I just went almost like an animal that lives for the day. You know, there was no reflections on past or future. I was just going. And I had oral praxia, so my articulation was odd. I could only just about get out monosyllabic words. So maybe someone watching this who's got a child that seems to make sort of sounds or words that seem to have just one syllable. The one I used to do was nan, and I used to go na 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 in big long stream. You know, any word with more than one syllable, it would tumble and it would just come out wrong. Needing deafness, so I couldn't process language. That's a big barrier. So I couldn't connect with people, and also pure auditory agnosia, I didn't understand where sounds were coming from. So it was just all this mass of sounds that didn't make sense. Then I had the problem of expressing, and it was very frustrating. The way I got around that in an odd sort of way was to look at TV shows, TV jingles, TV programs, hum the tunes, say a bit of what was going on without any meaning. So I was echolalic and echopraxic. So what I can say is there was ability in there. One of the problems I'm seeing with non-verbal people is pushing them to speak. How about accepting their communication profile? How about accepting that there are a lot of barriers within them? I'm thinking of that really inspirational girl, Carly. Is it Carly Fleischman, who's non-verbal, and she's rocked the autism world by writing a book. And I just think, you know, she was written off as retarded, and you know, by lots of people, and look what she's done.
Well, we all need to be more patient with each other, but when we're dealing with people on the spectrum, patience really does pay off in the end.
Yes, it does.
So thank you again for coming in today. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. It's been nice speaking to you.
And thank you, Autism Hangout. Tune again soon. We'll have another Key Learnings of Autism Thought Leaders.